Amish country. She was born Mennonite.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I love that country down there. I like to drive around down there and visit.
Well, the next time you go down, you let me know, and I will give you the inside scoop of the places to eat. And if you want souvenirs, the best places to go for real Amish souvenirs.
Oh, I've got a buffet down there I really like, and I found it because I counted who had the most horse buggies parked out front. And I
Now,
went
did you
in, and
go
most
to-
of the people were dressed in Amish, and that's why I figured, okay, this is not one of these tourist traps. It's kind of off the.
Now, did you go to Good and Plenty or Plain and Fancy?
Oh, neither one of those. I think.
Oh,
they're
okay.
tourist traps.
Oh, no, 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 no. Lots of locals, including Amish, go to Good and Plenty.
Good and plenty.
Yes. Buffet. If you don't fill up there, there's something wrong with you.
My
All I know-
problem is at a buffet I eat too much.
That's what they're for.
Yeah.
Exactly. You eat once a day. That's it. You know?
It's called carb loading.
Yeah, exactly.
I tried to buy a rocker
with him.
from that guy in Epsom, right on Route 4 there, and he has them shipped up from down there, and the price tag was shocking. So maybe I'll take the trip and buy it straight from the distributor.
Yeah, and if you ever decide to get seriously, I will give you the names of the best, most reasonable woodworkers. I've got a kitchen. Come over sometime, Matt, and I'll show you my kitchen table and chairs that came from down there.
That
And then
sounds
I'll
great.
tell you what my mom paid for it.
I'll come check it out.
Come check it out.
There used to be a place down in Raymond. I forget what it was, but something furniture, obviously. And they had contracts with the folks down there. And we got some really nice chair furniture from them.
Is that
And
the unfinished?
it was
place,
reasonable.
The old 101?
Yeah, I think it
Yes.
was.
Country Woods.
Yeah,
And they're-
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, they moved to Manchester and then they went out of business.
Yeah.
But the Amish Homestead is up on Main Street in Concord. They moved from the corner of
Wow.
South State and South Main. So now they're right on Main Street. And I know two of our friends down in Amish country, they order up not quilts, but handiwork kind of things from them. I don't know if they get furniture from them as well, but
Nice.
but I do know that at least they are going down to Pennsylvania versus Ohio or Michigan, because there's big Amish communities all over the country. Even one up in Maine now.
Oh yeah. All I know is I'm getting ready to take. So I take free classes at UNH if I wanted to, because of working on campus, and I priced out a couple of Adirondack chairs this summer, and I decided I'm going to try to learn how to make them instead of paying somebody else. So
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see where we're at. What's my phone safe?
Now, if you go to Pennsylvania, you can get those Adirondack chairs for half the price.
I was just saying the same thing about the porch rockers. I think I just need to bring a trailer down to Pennsylvania and load it up and come back.
So we
Rent a
go to
trailer.
Pennsylvania
Rent-
every year. So I've got 4 Adirondack chairs, my dining room table, my benches, like the cabinets, below your TV.
Yeah.
We bought an outhouse.
That works, especially
Yeah,
when we
I really
lose
like
power. You don't have to
Yeah,
worry about
we
whether or
bought the
not you
outhouse.
get water.
Yeah, or I used to put like my gardening tools in it actually, but but people look at you when you tow the house in the back of the pickup truck.
Multi-purpose works. All right, let's see.
Okay. Pam, are you okay? You're holding something to your face.
Oh, it's a refreshing white.
Oh, okay. I just
It's my
Just wasn't
comfort
sure.
light.
I think her screen's frozen, so you're not seeing her move her hand.
yeah. All I'm seeing is this.
Speaking of hand, how's yours doing, Tim?
Oh, wow.
Looks good.
Yeah, look
Oh,
pretty
you'll
good.
have to send me a regular pic
What
You got the right
happened?
number of fingers.
because I
Yeah.
can't get that close.
What
I
was
don't
that?
see it. Oh, Dan.
Oh.
Come on. I want to see Tim's hand.
Yeah, what's
Where
going
is
on
he?
with your hand?
He did a dummy.
Did you cut off your fingers?
No.
You're
Chop.
muted, Tim.
Oh.
Why is my camera not working?
I picked up some
Nice.
metal roof and it slipped off. So I got
Nice.
3 stitches in my ring finger and 7 in my pinky.
Wow. Did it cut any of the tendons?
No, and another whisker deeper, I wouldn't have. I'd probably be in the hospital right now, having surgery. The guy said so.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
My brother was up in Vermont when he had an accident with a table saw and cut his hand badly. And he ended up at the hospital, and lo and behold, the only surgeon on duty turned out he just got back from Iraq, and his specialty was hand surgery.
Oh,
Mm.
wow.
Saved everything, reconnected all the tendons and nerves and everything.
Wow.
Who would have thought that, you know, you would have found a hand surgeon specialist at a small Vermont hospital?
Yeah.
Well, for what it's worth, 61 years ago, I cut the 4 fingers off my left hand,
Oh,
and we had an outstanding ortho who was able to reattach them. I have some diminished sensitivity in, of course, the middle finger. I've always been bummed that in 1959, this miraculous reattachment of 4 fingers, and I've got the scars and the crooked fingers to show it, I did not make the cover of Time magazine or Life or whatever. I've been bummed for years over that.
Well, if we ever get the Northern newsletter that Hal wants to do, we can put you on the cover for the first issue.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
There you
Another shameless plug.
Compare everybody's scars.
You know?
the title is, he does not give a finger. It just,
You
Not to
what, a
interrupt,
year old when that happened?
I'm at a budget.
It's
committee.
5.
not to interrupt, but I want to report
Oh.
Yes?
that Ted Wilkinson will not be joining us because of a minor illness.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah,
very
we
much,
can-
Tom.
Quick, we can talk.
With that, I'll mute myself.
And here is Ted. Here's Ted.
Oh, good. Good.
You authorized to log in underneath your wife's account, Mr. Chase?
You do.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
The women in this town have the power. You might as well just accept that.
But Susan could change your name to the correct.
Gracie's shaking her head, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
You
Yeah,
could rename.
you have to see how it goes. You have to see how it goes. Make a decision then. Yeah. I mean,
Al, your mic's on.
yeah, so Michigan, where in Michigan?
Al, your mic's on.
Oh, yeah. I know where. Yeah.
Wow.
Do you want to mute him before he gives out his credit card numbers?
You know what? I'm-
Wow.
Thank you.
Just as long as it's not the towns.
That's right.
Please.
Okay, so let's see who I'm still waiting for because I know that there are some.
Oh,
Excuse.
I need a pillow.
Betsy on tonight?
No, Betsy's excused. See if Bob, because I don't see Bob yet.
Bob has no power or internet or something. He
Yeah,
Well-
as of his update an hour ago, he still didn't have internet.
Oh, because he did have it this morning when I talked with him. So he must have lost it There you go, Matt. We gained it, he lost it.
Heck of an update tonight.
Okay, so. So I think that's everybody other than Dan. So seeing as how it is 7:03, I'm going to call the December 7th, 2020 Budget Committee work session to order at 7:03 with the following statement. As chair of the Northwood Budget Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which is authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the Budget Committee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through details located on our website and posted outside the town hall. If for any reason you cannot join or listen to this meeting, please call, and it's the same number we used Saturday, 942-5586, extension 2005. So if for any reason any of us drop out because of issues with internet and whatever, give Linda a call and she can do her magic and Susan can let you in. So that being said, we'll do a roll call. So I have Tom.
Here.
Grace. I know you're here. I see you. You want to unmute? Dan.
Hello.
Hello. Mike
How are you?
Moore.
Present.
Steve.
Present.
Betty.
Yes, here.
Paul.
Here.
Pam.
Yes.
Okay. Eric.
Here.
Mike Jobin.
Yes.
And I am here as chair. Excused this evening are Coburn, Brad Hall, Ted Wilkinson, Brian Winslow, and I'm going to temporarily excuse absent Bob Young. If he happens to be able to join us, then we'll change the minutes to reflect the fact that he joined us late. Okay, and let's see, we do have, yes, I'm drawing a brain
Chris?
cramp here.
Forum?
Our foreman, our highway.
Chris Brown.
Chris, sorry about that, Chris. I see you, but it comes up Public Works Foreman, and I'm old, so. So why don't we start off with the Highway Department? That's on page 11. And that is section 43111. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the amount of $195,984.
Thank Dan. Do we have a
Second.
I didn't hear a second.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Chris, you want to give us an overview? Is there anything special you want to point out to us, or?
So basically, if you guys look through my itemized lines, I mean, from start to finish, most everything has stayed the same. There's been some pretty minimal increases on some areas, and there's been there's one in particular that had a little bit of a significant increase, just due to the fact going through everything. I'm going to keep a lot of work in-house this year rather than outsourcing it for contractors or putting it out for bid or RPFs or anything like that. So basically, everything stays pretty baseline. I was able to cut some areas, things like that I wasn't utilizing, and pretty much moving forward there. That's my budget for the whole year.
Okay, are there any questions for Chris on the highway administration portion of his budget? Okay, then I'll ask mine. Chris, can you give us an idea on how many people you've got working? You were trying to keep things in-house, you just said. I see your salary. I'm not sure what the difference is between general road labor isn't being proposed versus a laborer 2.
So what's the question again?
The difference in job descriptions between general road laborer and laborer 2?
So when they brought this position on, they brought a lot more to the table as far as the public works foreman position. So the general laborer, he's basically, he's there daily, drives truck, does whatever little things I need him. So basically I'm overseeing him. Obviously we're just a crew of 2 right now. And so that's basically, I'm in charge. I take care of all the paperwork, the billing, things like that. And he's basically just a laborer.
Okay, because I'm looking at the expended year to date. And that position, the laborer 2, had almost 40,000 in it, but only 7,800 has been spent.
Yep. So I was, my position, when I was elected last year in March, I basically worked alone for the whole year, until I think about 2 months ago when we hired our full-time laborer, Chris Durham. So I've actually been on the highway department alone.
Okay.
So Chris, besides you, is it just one person full-time?
Yep. I have 2 part-time employees.
They're on the call crew line. Is that where they exist?
They're basically there for snow plowing and, general labor when I need them, things like that. So.
But
I was talking
sorry,
about.
go ahead, Paul.
I was talking about the 2 part-timers. Where do they show up in the budget? Is that on the highway call crew line? Is that where they show up?
If they're working in the summertime, they're under the call line, but most of the time they're utilized during the winter for snow plowing. So it's under my my snow plowing line.
I'm just looking at your snow plowing line and I see contracted services and then salt sand equipment maintenance. So I don't see a salary line there other than contracted services. We wouldn't be paying them off of that, would we, John or Walter?
I don't think so.
Snow and ice control.
I thought they were paid out of that 113 line in highway administration, but because I wasn't there during any of the snowstorms, I'm not sure where they were paid. Maybe Susan actually might know where she does payroll.
It's not contracted services.
Right.
I just plug it into a title and then I'm sorry. I don't know the departments enough to tell you. I just know how to do the payroll. I
Oh.
apologize. So
No, probably the system automatically puts it to the
yeah,
line. That's
yeah,
probably what
so-
happened, Susan. Sorry to ask for you on that.
no, it's fine. I can't explain where it
No, but
goes.
I would think they would be paid off one of those lines between 110 and 115.
I would think so as well.
I believe it's under the highway call crew salary. Because
That's
they're
right.
actually employees of the town. They're not contractors.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me, so.
And I think that's the only place where I calculated Social Security off from. So if they're somewhere else, I don't, I think they have to be in that line.
I think they have to be, that way they're covered under workman's comp if something happens too.
Right. Yeah, because they're not contract. If they were contract labor, then they'd have to provide the insurance certificates and the liability binders and all of that, so. Okay, I'm just checking. So I've asked my question. Does anyone else have any questions on the highway administration? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion for $195,984. We'll do a roll call. Tom?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
I'm here.
Who here?
Bob?
Hey, Bob! Hallelujah! Glad you're here. I thought when I spoke with you earlier today, you still had your power and internet, right?
No, my internet is completely gone. They ripped the wire off the house.
Oh, that's the wire.
Ooh.
Okay. All right.
So what I'm doing is I'm on a cell phone, and they leave periodically because I've got a couple of things going on with the trailer park down the street. So I'm here for now.
I did hear about that. Yes. Okay. So are you aware of what we were voting on, or should I abstain you?
You should abstain me because I have no idea where we are.
Okay. Well, just so you know, for the next page, we'll be going on to page 12 in just a moment.
Thank you kindly.
You are welcome. Let's see. Eric.
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And yes, so the vote is 1, 2, 3.
I didn't vote. You missed me.
I did. I skipped right over you, Pam. I'm sorry. How do you vote, Pam?
Yes.
Thank you. Because you're on my list, you're up above Brian, and Brian's excused. I'm gonna put other glasses on, I think.
There's no excuse for me.
Okay, so I have 1101. We got 12 of us here.
Have a pair of glasses on your head.
Those are my blue light glasses for when my eyes really get tired, but they're not prescription, so I have to wear them over my prescription. It's not pretty. If I end up doing that, you will not see my smiling face on this screen. So.
Oh, God.
8, 9, 10, 12. Yep. Okay. There's 12 of us. Okay. So let's move on to page 12. So we've got paving and reconstruction. Section 43121.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the amount of $80,000.
Thank you. Do we have a second? I'm sorry?
Second, Pam.
Thank you, Pam. Okay, any discussion or questions?
I have a couple on, same questions I asked.
Sorry about that, folks. That's off. I'm sorry, was that you, Paul, that had a question?
Yeah, it was like Mike Moore's technique of pushing the space bar. It says I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're very soft, but I can hear you.
Well, I've never been accused of that.
I know.
I'm just saying I'm going to ask the same questions I asked in the written ones I sent in. What happened to the 2 grants? Are we not receiving them and not spend the one this year? Line 880 and 881.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're asking for. Which one of you? Yes, John.
Yeah, basically, we received the fund, we're receiving the funds from the state, but we did not expend them because the selectmen were concerned with making sure they didn't overspend the budget. And we had other projects from the warrant articles that were being done. So the warrant article itself was a major project, 350,000.
Come on, space bar's working now. Maybe you just clarify one thing for me. How does a grant get into an operating expense anyway? I mean, isn't that free money?
Technically, the grant shows in your revenue page. If you look at the revenue sheet, it shows there. The state number gets put in to offset taxes. The town apparently has traditionally appropriated an amount towards road projects and called it the block grant money, but it's not technically the grant. The grant is actually going into revenue, and this is just an expenditure, and that's how it got labeled. Many years it tracked the same amount so that the amount of the grant was the same, but we've been in default a couple of years, and that's not what's being proposed for 2021. But you're right, the grant just requires that it be spent on highway expenditures. So it doesn't need to be spent for a specific project. So it's not a dedicated grant other than it has to go for highway. Does that answer your question, Paul?
Are we expecting to receive that money again next year, or is that going to be down because of all the COVID stuff?
It's a percent of what the state collects on the road toll, which we know commonly called the gas tax. And on that gas tax, road toll as it's actually known, the last time I talked to them, they expected it to be off 5% or so. I thought it was going to be off more than that, but at this point, they won't estimate what next year's will be. They just gave a number that this year's is off, but what we get this year was based on last year's collection.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions, or Tom?
I'm looking at the numbers, and we had an adopted amount in 2019 of 220,000. We spent 146. We put in for 220,000 again, and to date have spent 30, and now we are requesting 80. And there's some big disparities between supplies from 2019, 2020 down to $10,000. I just don't understand why we see a decrease of $140,000 total in this area. I mean, it's nice to save $140,000, but don't we need supplies, or has that all been allocated as coming from someplace else?
Chris, what typically would come out of that supply line?
Which itemized number is that again?
This is the 680 line under paving and reconstruction.
Yep. So that's basically just a supply line that we use for asphalt and stuff like that. So
So if you were doing road patches, that kind of thing?
no, under the paving portion of it, there is another itemized line in my budget for actual asphalt. It's for the project itself. If any, like I don't. That's about it. That's all I know.
But is the implication in that, Chris, that there aren't any big paving jobs anticipated for 2021? So you don't need.
I had anticipated a lot more in putting out a warrant article again for 3 roads this year coming up, but it was turned down by the Highway Facility Committee, and it was turned down by the Board of Selectmen. So unfortunately I have to go with a smaller project this year. So that's why that itemized line is a lot smaller than it was before.
And is that similar that the highway block grant projects and town block appropriations, all that's just been scaled back in the light of financial pressure?
Yep.
Well, the Pam, and then
I would like Hal to address this.
Yeah, I think we need to recognize that we've basically put the money that we want to do for paving reconstruction, the major projects, into, as we did last year, the warrant article. Overall, the town's going to have to come to grips with how much we want to do in terms of repaving each year. For many, many years, the total between what was in the budget for paving and what was approved for the warrant articles was approximately 300, maybe in some good years like last year, $350,000. We took the same approach as last year and suggested having a warrant article so it's very clear to the voters. If we pass it, we do these projects. If we don't pass it, we don't do the projects. So what's in the budget is just the stuff to help keep the normal wear and tear of the sort of general maintenance that needs to be done every year on all the roads. But the major paving projects are now all in the warrant articles. And if the town supports them, we move ahead and we, try to keep up with the roads. And if they don't, then, we'll probably fall behind. And what Chris is saying is, this year, instead of 350, what was proposed is 150,000.
Right.
John and then Matt.
The town has started a road surface management study with Stratford Regional Planning that should be done next summer. We had originally talked about $10,000, but Walter used a similar plan with the Regional Planning Commission up in Moulton Borough, and Stratford Region is willing to do it for us if we're willing to work with their time schedule. At that point, you should have a better handle on what should be spent annually for roads. Just on back of envelope, I suspect you should be putting $500,000 to $600,000 every year into road surface work. Last year you put 350, which is certainly getting closer, but given the economic circumstances, the Board of Selectmen, the Facilities Committee, as Chris indicated, cut way back and are only putting in the warrant article, I think it's 150,000. Here they cut back as well, but in the long run, you're going to have to spend more for roads.
Matt, did you still want to comment?
John stole my thunder. I was going to make the exact same point.
He stole your thunder. Okay.
Sorry, Matt.
And I'm not 100% sure on the town block appropriation where that funding comes from, but I do know that the highway block grant is based on gas taxes and such. And when people haven't been driving this year, there isn't as much money to spread around, and that's why that amount has been reduced.
Red light.
As far as the Facilities and Highway Committee, of which I am a member, we were very cognizant of taxes and the fact that many people are unemployed now or underemployed, and we wanted to try and keep the budget and warrant articles while still doing some work, not being extravagant this year. Al, do I see your hand up?
Yeah, and I just wanted to reinforce that point, Ginger, and that's why we took the Facilities Committee's recommendation. I mean, basically, you looked us in the eye and said, this is what we think we have a chance of passing.
Right.
And we just said, okay, we understand, and we voted the same way. So we're in sync on this. I think what the town has to recognize is just what John said. It's a calculated risk, and we're not spending as much as we typically would, or maybe even should, but it's because of the circumstances that we're recommending going this way. And we're going to have to play catch up later.
Right. Times will get better. Tom?
I'm looking at the Warren article for road construction with a figure of $150,000 in it, and it mentions paving Bigelow Road, culvert work on Harmony Hill, etc.
Yes.
I don't know where Bigelow Road is, but I'm sure the people on Bigelow Road are happy to hear that. But if you want to build, if you want to build greater support for that money, you ought to list more roads that you're going to address. If you're only going to do those two projects and are using et cetera to suggest that maybe more, but if you want to build a support, then I think you maybe ought to say more about what roads are on the list, even though you may not get to all of them.
So the committee had indicated, we had tossed this around because Chris had mentioned to us he wanted to completely redo Harmony Hill Road as an example, which included quite a bit of culvert work that needed to be done. There was another road in addition to Bigelow, and I am forgetting what it is at the moment. But in any event, after much discussion, we felt that doing Bigelow, which either needed to be done this coming year or turn it back to gravel, which was not a good option, and do the culvert work that needs to be done in advance, and should there be any tree work, particularly after this storm, that needs to be done on Harmony Hill Road, which would show both those individuals on Harmony Hill as well as the town that we are addressing them, but we may not be able to do a $400,000 or $500,000 project each and every year. So just as cutting trees on roads that will be done in the future, so that we don't have to worry about cutting them when the roads are actually going to be taken care of, the committee felt made more sense and would be better understood by the voters. Did I get that right, Beth? Okay.
Yeah.
Al?
Yeah, and I think that's a commitment that the Board of Selectmen has also, or the Select Board has also made, and that is we're going to do the preemptive work first the year before. We're not going to try to squeeze everything in the same year. And so the highway plan and the work that we do needs to take that into account. And so I guess I agree with Tom. If we could list out more roads, that would really be nice to do, but there's a limit to how much we can do, and we have committed to do the work in the right sequence. And so given those constraints, that's what we can do with the $150,000.
And I would just add one final thought. That's the reason that we're redoing the road plan to get it updated, because the road plan that is currently in existence, if memory serves me, is like 12 years old. So once that plan has been researched by Stratford Regional, and then we will have a list of roads, such as Tom suggested, so that in the future we can make reference to which roads have more, a higher priority over some others, and hopefully the order in which the town will be able to take care of them. Beth?
And then with the road plan, we'll also know what roads need to have culvert work, tree work prior to the paving. So, I mean, the road plan really is a priority. We wanted to put on something because we can't just not pave, obviously. That will just put us further behind. So, hopefully it passes and we can get one road and get Harmony Road started to be prepared for the following year.
Right. Tim, I'm not sure if you've got your hand up because you want to speak or if you're resting your hand.
A little of both. I was going to tell Mr. Chase that Bigelow Road is off of Lower Deerfield, down where John Newman lives, down that backside of Lucas Pond. That road's been put off for quite a few years, so it's just if you need to take a ride down, look at it.
Sad shape.
Okay, do we have any other questions or comments regarding the paving and reconstruction section? Okay, seeing none, we'll do roll call. Tom?
Yes.
Okay. Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Pam? You gotta unmute yourself. You're muted.
I'm sorry. Yes.
That's okay. I think the record has to actually hear a voice, so. Bob?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And yes. So that vote is 12-0, yes. Moving on, highway cleaning and maintenance, section 43122.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the amount of $77,500.
Okay. Anybody want a second?
Second, I'll second.
Thank you, Grace. Okay, any questions or comments on this section?
One on the 20,000 for tree work, is that related to the warrant article or is that separate from the warrant articles?
Separate.
And that's not like ash trees that have the bugs in them, that there's a separate warrant article that they're trying to put some funding into for this year?
Correct.
Hal?
Well, if it's okay with Pam.
Oh, yes, Pam. You want to defer it?
Yeah, so just Paul, to be real careful about this, there's $5,000 in a warrant article for the ash trees. If that doesn't pass, that doesn't mean that if an ash tree needs to be taken care of, we can just ignore it. We're going to have to do something with it. So we do need some money for stuff like that. And then obviously, as you know, there's all kinds of other trees that are unrelated to the paving projects that still need to be done too. But just be careful about, there's a limit to how much we can do with the $5,000. That's only like 10 trees.
Right.
Yeah, and I was just looking at not in 2019, we spent $3,000. So far this year, we've spent nothing. So, $20,000, even though we had budgeted 10 in the previous years, we really haven't spent any money in this area.
Yeah, well, just wait till the bills come in because we just did some cutting.
Right. Beth?
In 2019, we spent $3,000. That was the year that Eversource came and took down a lot of trees all around town. You remember that?
Right.
That saved us a lot of money that year.
It did save us a lot of money. And unfortunately, with tree work, you just never know when Mother Nature is going to decide to take out her angst on trees that are near the roads that have to be taken down or trimmed up or whatever. Okay, any other? Yes, Tom.
I just want to note that in paving and reconstruction, the year-to-date is $30,000 expended. In this item, it's 16. Down in snow and ice control, on the other hand, you spent $100,000. I'm just curious if it's the case that there was a lot more spent in those two categories in after October than show up on this year-to-date number. So are we saving lots of money?
Excuse me. Someone from the selectmen or want to respond back to what you have seen for invoices that have come through to be paid since October 31st?
I'm going to go to Hal with that because it's, you know.
Yeah, I can't answer that one.
And from now on October, so Hal.
I
would
can't
say,
let-
yeah, that there are expenses that we have yet to incur for 2020.
Let's let John talk to that. He might be able to help us here.
Well, I'd like Chris to weigh in, but that $20,000 or so that we just spent on pine trees on Ridge Road, I don't think that's hit this line yet. And there may be some other work as well, but I think there's at least a $20,000 tree bill coming in.
Yeah, and you would not have gotten that bill prior to those trees coming down, so.
No, in
Right,
fact,
no, we haven't
I don't
got it
think we've got the bill yet. I think it's coming.
25,000 actually.
What'd you say, Chris?
25,000.
25,000.
Okay. So that will make a difference on that total expenditure line for you, Tom.
Yeah, but in 2020, they adopted paving and reconstruction, $220,000, and only 30 has been spent. And highway cleaning and maintenance, $71,000 has been adopted and only $16,000 has been spent. If you did get a $20,000 tree bill, that would get that up to $36,000. But both those categories are very underspent at this point in time. And does this information accurately reflect where those accounts stand?
But that's default budgets that were passed.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure you're going to find that we had a warrant article that was passed for the paving and reconstruction then. That's where most of the majority of the money came from, the paving of the roads. That's why there's so much left in that line.
It was the only work we did.
Yep. I didn't do any additional.
That's
because
going to happen.
Well, actually, we added one road. Was it Lakeshore? You added one road to the three that were in the warrant article.
Harvey,
that was it.
No, it was Harvey, Tasker Hill, and the rest of Ridge Road. To the best of my knowledge, those were the only three. Now, there may have been another road done in addition, but those were the original three.
Right.
So then Ridge and Castor must have come in way under budget, because originally Harvey was supposed to be done with the block grant money, the 102.
Right, that was the original intent if the warrant article for the 350 did not pass. At least
Right.
Harvey Lake Road would get done.
Yes, we said come hell or high water, Harvey Lake was going to get done because we didn't do it the year before.
Right.
But in the warrant, the only two roads listed were Tasker Hill and Ridge Road.
Correct.
Because the operating budget was covering Harvey Lake.
Correct. Does that make it a little clearer than mud for everybody? Any other questions or comments regarding the highway cleaning and maintenance? I have just a few. Well, couple. Chris, guardrails. I know that the 7,500 predates you, but we keep 7,500 in there and yet we never seem to do anything with guardrails.
I understand. It's okay. I just wanted to let him know before he.
Yep. So the line this year actually will be expended because, for instance, the guardrail on the bridge over by Grace Mattern's house, that's going to be replaced next year with this budget line, because that's the only, believe if I talk to the state engineer again, that's the only reason the bridge is actually red listed. So in order to do that, I can replace it with the guardrail and have that bridge taken off the red listed fund.
Oh, that will save a ton of money.
Yep. So structurally, it's sound. It's just the guardrail is actually what red listed it.
The wooden guardrail, that's why it's, like he said, Chris is right. We looked it up. It's a wooden guardrail and puts on the red listed bridge.
Okay. And I guess that's it for me. Are there any other final questions or comments regarding the highway cleaning and maintenance? Okay, seeing none, let's do a roll call. Tom?
Yes.
Grace? Grace? Unmute yourself so you can respond.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you. Thank you. Dan? Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve Robinson?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Thank you. Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, vote is 12-0. That brings us to snow and ice control. 43125.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the amount of $171,001.
Thank
Mike
you.
Moore, second.
Thanks, Mike. Questions or comments? This is the one that we hope we don't go over and we actually save a bunch. Okay, not seeing any questions or comments, we'll go for a roll call, please. Tom?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Thank you. Bob?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And yes, 12-0.
Ginger?
Yes, Linda.
May I ask which Mike made the second?
Mike Moore.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A better looking Mike, in my opinion.
Now, you're on opposite sides of my screen with three people between you. Don't be fighting now.
I better mute myself.
All right, our next little section is street lighting, 43163.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move $1.
Thank you, Dan.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Steve.
I like that dollar.
You like that dollar. And I'm assuming, well, I should not assume. Are there any questions or comments about the dollar for street lighting? Seeing none. We have Tom.
Yes.
Grace.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Mike Moore. Steve.
Yes.
Betty.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
Thank you. Bob.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And yes, 12-0. Moving on to page 13. We're gonna switch gears here. We have sanitation administration. 43211. Do we have a motion?
I will move.
The amount of $71,934.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Pam, you want a second?
That was Grace.
It was Grace.
I was trying to make the motion. I'll second.
Boy, this is getting, I need to go to bed early when I thought that Grace sounded like Dan. This is not a good thing.
No, Dan did make the motion.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yes, he
All
did.
right.
Oh, it's
Thank
the other
you.
way around. I sound like her.
Ah, there you go. We'll talk about that later, Dan.
I get in touch with my feminine side. Give it up.
And Pam sounds like Dan to me.
Hey, you know, it takes a real man to admit that he's got a feminine side. So I applaud you for that. So,
Yep.
okay. Any discussion? I gotta move away from my camera for a second. What? Out. One of my dogs decided he wanted to join my office because he thinks it's time to go out. And it isn't. So I'm sorry. Any questions or discussion on sanitation administration?
Yeah, the part-time salary, is that for both guys at the transfer station? I'm assuming that's for both guys or just one person? For the part-time salary, number line 110.
Okay, Chris?
That's actually, yeah, that's for all three.
All
There
three.
are three.
Yep.
Oh, so three.
Okay. Other questions or comments? I've got, well, no, I'll bypass that. Sorry. Does anyone have any other questions or concerns? Okay, seeing none.
Nope.
Let's see, Tom,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mike Moore,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike Jobin,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so 12-0. So that brings us to solid waste disposal, which is 43243.
I'd like to move the amount of $136,000. $136,000.
Thanks, Grace. You have a second?
I'll second. Second by Pam.
Okay, Mike. That was Mike Jobin, Linda.
Darn.
To a discussion.
What is tipping sanitation, line number 390? What does that mean?
Dan, do you know that, or do you want to defer to somebody?
I'm gonna say it's Chris right there.
Chris?
Hello.
Hello. Question is regarding an explanation for tipping sanitation, the line, the 390 line? What's it for?
The tipping is the actual, the price per tonnage that we actually dump for MSW.
Okay.
That's basically the unsorted trash. That's the, we get charged so much per
Yeah,
ton.
the trash.
Okay. Other questions? Tom? Up, you're muted, Tom.
Unmute, there you go.
There you go.
96,000 adopted in the budget. We spent 136,000 and we're requesting 136,000 going forward for this coming year. And I'm not sure how we ended up $40,000 over at the end of October. Is that default budget problems?
Unfortunately, yeah, we're 2 years behind on increasing that line. And unfortunately, especially due to the pandemic, more people are home. So we're actually hauling out 1 to 2 cans a week extra a week than we were before. So unfortunately, yeah, that really hammers that line.
If you look at the 2019 actual, it's another 10.
Yep.
Hal?
With Pam's indulgence, yeah, this is a line where the total line where we have struggled, I believe, for years. And I will say that personally, I think we're a little low on this, but Chris thinks that as a result of some of the changes he's doing there and better controls, that we can go with this number, and we're going to support him on that.
I'm curious if anybody there has an idea of why people are using the transfer station so much more during this period. Is it the case that there are people who ordinarily don't live in Northwood, have moved up here, and are now just throwing a lot of stuff away? Anybody got an idea? Is this going to continue, or will we see them leave town and go back to where they came from and things go down?
John?
I've also been working as interim in Tamworth, mostly before I came to Northwood, and some overlap. And Tamworth had the very same problem. There, some of it was second homes in which people were coming up, but we felt the majority of it there, and I think it probably is the case here, that it's just like myself. I took several loads to the Farmington transfer station because I had time on my hands. So therefore I started cleaning the cellar and the barn, and a lot of people have been doing that. I think that it probably is more year-round residents, but some people that had second homes that decided to come and stay here rather than remain in Massachusetts if they could work remotely. But I would say the majority is just regular year-round residents.
So we're seeing a big increase in residents that are long-term residents for the town, 20, 30 years that have given up their dumpsters. A lot of them are, $100 to $115 a month. So it's an additional savings there for their budgets, especially some of them that are older going on fixed incomes. So that was a lot of change. I mean, that's a lot of people that I'm seeing come in, and not to mention where everybody's home, that, it's just a significant increase. Everybody's hoeing out the house and taking care of things that they haven't.
Other questions or comments?
True.
Matt, did you want to add something?
Yep, just really briefly, I want to let the budget committee know that part of Chris's expectation for lower fees is a new contract on our cardboard and plastic, both, correct, Chris? Which is going to be a significant savings over our current contract on the hauling and tipping of those.
Okay.
Yeah, like Matt was saying, one of my first things I took a look at when I started the position was our cardboard. We were paying excess of $150 a ton to dispose of cardboard and plastic for recycling. And since then, I've taken it out of the hands of NRRA, and I've signed a 3-year contract with for actually, I think now. So it's about $120 right there in itself.
Stephen,
Question regarding the cardboard and plastic. I find it, are we shipping a lot of air with that container every time? Because how come not looking to investing into a shredder to get more bang for our buck and load that bad boy up? Seems like there's a lot of, I mean, I know I personally, I used to take the caps off. Now I don't take, I'm shooting myself in the foot here, but sometimes I don't take my caps off my bottles. So I know those don't get crushed 100%. So there's air being trapped in them. And you add that up over the course of a weekend, that's a lot of space, shipping out. How come we're not looking into a shredder to get more bang for the buck? And shred.
That is definitely an option. The biggest thing we're looking at right now in a short-term aspect is we're looking at a 45-yard can versus a 40-yard can. So we can get a little bit more tonnage in there. So that way we won't have to haul as much out. With probably one can being hauled out a week.
Well, I was told, I asked a question a couple of years ago, and I was told that there was no power on that side of where the container was because the cardboard and plastic were separated. Now we're combining it. We do have power. I don't know why we can't just invest in a simple shredder to get more bang. It shouldn't cost that much money, I don't think. And I think it's going to pay for itself in a very short period of time. As far as manning it, that might be another issue because you don't want people just throwing stuff in a shredder. Someone can throw something bad and then you get a major problem. So, but we do probably have the manpower to get 3 guys down there on a weekend. So that's something I think, that's something that goes up my butt sideways because I just see that a waste of money, a significant waste of money. Yeah. It can be definitely improved upon.
Unfortunately, where the cardboard machine is now, the cardboard compactor, there is no power over there. The unit is driven off hydraulics, which is located inside the compactor house where Jimmy and where them are. So there's still no power. I mean, for the amount of money that would be to take to put it in power, it's pretty minimal. And look into for you.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no.
Chris,
no,
I have another quick question regarding that as far as the tipping and everything. Am I remembering correctly that currently the 40-yard can is rented and the 45 that you're looking at would be a purchase, which would eliminate a monthly rental fee? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, currently every can that we have, we own outright.
Maybe it was the hauling that I was thinking of. I don't know.
Yeah, the hauling is the only thing that unfortunately we have to pay for because we don't have trucks ourselves.
Right.
But yeah, no, we do own.
Okay, my only other question is regarding the 380 line, the demo furniture disposal.
Yep.
Last few years, we haven't spent very much. Do we really need to keep that at 25 or can that be reduced down some?
The furniture, so I believe last year there was we're deciphering the bills. Things weren't put in the right area, so that line spended more than it is.
Yeah, we have a lot of those problems. Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding the solid waste disposal section? Okay, seeing none. Tom?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Dan? Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And yes, that's 12-0. Okay, moving on to page 14.
Already did 14.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, we were all done with Chris. We need to go to page
Well, we might need Chris for warrant articles.
Let me take a look. I thought they were just the basic warrant articles. Let me check. Vacation.
Oh, we've talked about the paving one.
Right.
Could we perhaps cover the paving one right now and then let Chris go?
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
So, it's on page 3 of your warrant article section, for those of you, and I'm going to read it into the record for the public. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to be used for the construction, reconstruction, paving, and ditching and/or resurfacing of town roads and the refurbishing of ditches and culverts as recommended by the Highway Advisory Committee. This would include town road projects, including paving Bigelow Road, culvert work on Harmony Hill, etc. Anticipated tax impact is 22 cents. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 5-0. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Betty. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, Eric, thank you. Okay, we touched on this a little bit earlier tonight. Are there any additional questions, comments that anyone would like to bring up? I guess not. Okay. Let's do a roll call. Tom? Up, you're muted still, Tom.
There we go.
There you go.
In the previous conversation, I think I heard the figure of, and this may have come from John Scruton, that the expectation is that if we were going to really keep up with our road paving, we would be spending $500,000 to $600,000 a year.
Uh-huh.
I just want to say that and say, yes, if the townspeople agree to 150, we'll take it. Thank you.
Right.
Any other comments or questions regarding the paving article?
That's a vote and a comment.
Oh, so what's your vote, Tom? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mike Moore?
Yes, but I'll add also a comment that we're going to keep falling further behind if we don't increase this.
Okay. Steve?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
Okay, and yes, it's 12-0. And again, the highway committee went back and forth on this and we totally agreed, but in the interest of trying to get a proposed budget approved by the town versus another default budget, and for all of those individuals who add up tax impact on every warrant article, that was the committee's decision to try and back off on the warrant article a little bit in the hopes that the proposed budget would pass. So it was kind of a combination of everything. John?
Hal had a.
Hal had his hand up. Let Hal go first.
Oh, well, I see these fingers and I'm not sure what he's doing with the. Hi, Hal.
I guess what I'd say is we as the select board agreed with that approach. And I think the one thing we can do is we'll get some additional feedback at the deliberative session and see how that goes. I mean, folks at the deliberative can always consider amending that down or up. And, at that point, maybe things will have gelled a little bit more. We'll have a little clearer sense as to what's going on, and we'll see what people's comfort level is. So I think we need to vote, well, as you have, your conscience now, and then we'll see what the folks at session 1 say.
John?
Yeah, there are 3 other articles that relate to Chris. The backhoe lease purchase, the truck lease purchase, and the money being put into the trust fund. But I'm assuming there are no questions on those 3.
Yeah, we pretty much know that if it doesn't get approved, then the equipment goes back.
Yep.
And it will probably be, well, we have to formally address them at some point before we're done anyway, but I don't expect that there are too many questions on it. So Chris, you can get done early tonight.
I'm not opposed to that.
I didn't think you would be. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so page 16, we left off. I'm going to start again with Parks and Recreation. 45201.
Ginger?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, but John did make send out some notes regarding the community support, and I don't know if there's any adjustments we need to make to that, but does that come before the Parks and Rec?
It's on page 15.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Okay,
we already did those.
Yeah. I mean, it's up to you, but
my internet being down, I didn't get them, so.
So we skipped 44-151 because there was a question where Lamprey Healthcare, which had been in for $4,500, stopped the request. In the middle of the summer, June or July, they sent us a notice that if gave the selectmen 3 options to choose from, the selectmen chose the option to allow half of that amount because they only used half a year, to allow the remaining half a year, which was $2,250, to go to the recommended, which was the Meals on Wheels, which is listed here under line 844 as Rockingham County Nutrition.
Okay.
Now, the thought was that they might put put more towards the Rockingham County Nutrition in 2021. But when I requested a sheet asking how much Rockingham County Nutrition wanted, it's included in your budget packet near the end. There have been about 36 people in Northwood served. They requested 1825, and that is in the budget. So the mistake which I made, having $5,000 for the Child Advocacy Center, from instead of 500, I had it at 5,000. That should be reduced by 4,500. So the bottom line should be reduced to 26,146, in my opinion, to actually reflect what the request is for 2021.
That was actually under line 854, the court appointed special advocates. If you're looking under the other one.
Right.
854, yeah. Yeah, my problem is my glasses mean I have to get back further and further.
I understand completely.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we never got a motion on parks, let's go back to the community support agencies, section 44151. We've gotten the additional information. Do we have a motion for 26,146?
So moved.
Betty? Do we have a second? Thanks, Dave.
Second.
Okay, so is everybody clear on where that change came from? Any questions regarding that section? Okay. Tom?
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mike Moore,
Yes.
Steve Robinson. Where's he?
Mute.
Steve, want to unmute so you can tell me?
Got it.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks.
I was coloring over here.
Good pictures, I hope. Betty?
Oh, my Sharpie.
Yes.
Oh.
Paul?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Bob?
yes, yes, yes.
Got it. Bob?
Yes.
Okay. Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And yes. So that also is 12-0. Okay. Now we can go back to 16 for Parks and Recreation. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Wait a
Second.
minute. Move the amount of 80,367.
Okay, Betty, thank you.
I'll second.
Thanks, Grace. Discussion.
I'm going to, Ginger, have Matt address this, please, on my behalf.
Matthew, want to give us an overview?
Gladly. So this may have caught some eyes because it is an increase of a little over $13,000 from last year. This was a request of the Recreation Commission. We've had part-time rec directors in place, basic revolving door of rec directors in and out over the last several years. What the Rec Commission decided was that part of the problem that we're having is that there's just not enough hours in the week to really make substantive changes to what's being done, address the needs of the community properly. So we took a good look at the budget. We were able to pull a lot of money out of some other lines that we would no longer need necessarily. So I'll run you through the highlights. So the first thing that we're changing, we're going to be able to cut $14,707 out of what used to be the lifeguard line, and that's now going to, you'll see it as the beach attendant for a total of $7,000. The beach attendants will be in charge of, patrolling beaches, checking stickers, making sure there's not piles of trash, etc. But we are not going to man the beaches with lifeguards this year. The other big pot of money that we're able to pull out was we would no longer need a league coordinator. The recreation director would subsume those duties. So that's a savings of $5,428. So those two lines together get a savings of a little over $20,000, $20,135. We discussed at the board BOS level hiring a rec director at a slightly higher salary without benefits, and the board actually decided if it's full-time position, that full-time position deserved benefits just like everybody else in the town. So that was the decision to move that way. So that would then increase, obviously, on the pooled benefit line. That's not going to be reflected here, but that's going to be part of the math there. And then obviously an increase in all of the, FICA and Medicaid and that stuff, along with the increased salary. So those are the big pieces. Other than that, there's some small increases for playground and ball field maintenance. That's going to be necessary, mostly because we were awarded a $89,000 grant to build a playground this year through the Land Water Conservation Fund. So that's going to break ground this spring, which we want to start getting into the habit of socking away some funds just for general playground maintenance, keep the safety updates where they need to be, etc. So the grand total departmental increase is $13,213 from last year's budget. But I think for the sum of $13,000, we're going to get a lot of extra time, a lot of extra effort, and be able to properly address the needs and wants of this community, not just youth sports programming, but youth development activities, senior programming. We can get a summer camp up and running. My hope is that we'll get somebody in here either with a degree or a fair amount of experience who can start generating some revenue through any number of programs, and then eventually be able to actually take some of these other lines and pay for stuff out of the recreation revolving fund. Things like playground maintenance should be paid for out of rec revolving once we've got money coming in on a regular basis. So I'm open to any questions
I just have
as they arise.
By getting rid of the lifeguards, are we putting the town at any risk of, lawsuit liability if something happened on one of the public beaches?
Do you want me to address that, Ginger?
Yes, by all means.
So Primex actually prefers us to not staff the beaches. That's been their message pretty clearly. We put signage up. It's swim at your own risk signage, and the word we get from Primex is it's actually less of a liability to not staff the beaches and have people swim at their own risk as compared to, hiring a teenager to staff those beaches.
Other questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to bring up one then. I'm looking at the rec director's salary, Matt, for $50,000. And just as Betsy was doing on Saturday, I was checking out where on the wage scale, because this is basically a new position going from part-time to full-time. And what I discovered, I ended up going back to 2015 because there's been quite a difference in hourly rate, whether it's part-time or full-time. In 2015, it was $19.84 with roughly 20 hours a week. 2016, it was about the same, or it was the same rate. In 2017, the rate dropped down to $16.46 an hour, grade 8, step 8. The hours each time seem to be about the same, anywhere between 22 and 28, so I just averaged 26. On the wage scale for that position, it indicates grade 11, step 9 on the employee wage scale, and it shows $24.04 for an hourly rate. However, looking at the wage scale, grade 11, step 9 is actually $19.62. So I know at the board meeting, there was some discussion as to what an annual salary should be for this position. So I'm questioning if the 2404 is simply the 50,000 divided by 2,080 hours for the year. In any event, it appears that there's a question on the hourly rate, but more importantly, this budget begins January 1. We're still in pandemic. There will be no recreation things, not with the numbers increasing the way they are. So I looked at going from January 1 to April 2nd, which is 3 full months. It doesn't strike me that there would be a lot of recreation going on or the need for planning, not to mention the fact that this position can't even be filled until we determine after town meeting which budget you're going to have, whether you'll have a default or your proposed. That 13 weeks amounts to, at $19.62 an hour, that amounts to $10,202. So I would propose that 50,000 for this year be reduced by that amount, because you're not going to have a full-time person for a full year. And the discrepancy of $3 and change between the hourly rate.
If I may?
Absolutely.
So there's a couple of issues with your proposal. And so one is that the planning process needs to take place a good 3 to 4 months out to do things properly in terms of getting programs up and running, to get people registered, to get coaches into place, to square away all of the paperwork and uniform ordering and all of that stuff that needs to happen in order to run these programs properly, especially if somebody's going to be creating new programming, which would be my expectation. In terms of the pay rate, the national salary for a Parks and Recreation director, which is what this position would be. And I know, these are national numbers, and life in New England is always a little bit different than that. But the national median salary for a Parks and Rec director is $78,250 in 2019. So if we're going to, at $50,000, it's underpaid. So my biggest fear with dropping it beyond 50 is that, let's say we pass this budget and then go default next year, we're left with no money to pay someone that we have on staff in a full-time position. I'd much rather that we pass the 50,000 for the salary line and not use the entire thing for this year. Obviously, what doesn't get spent on salary through whatever time we don't have somebody on board, it is what it is. And again, the same as we talked about with the part-time firefighters or the call firefighters, I think it was part-time actually. My hope would be that that director isn't going to purely look at bottom line and say, hey, I've got all this extra money to spend. My expectation would be that that gets returned to the taxpayers. But I'd be really hesitant to go too far below that $50,000 mark for those two big reasons.
I have to respectfully disagree with you, but I appreciate the explanation. Are there other questions or comments regarding either that issue or anything else in Parks and Recreation? John?
Yeah, the grade 11, I think, is a mistake. I actually think this is supposed to be graded higher than that, but
I looked, I couldn't find it.
well, I think 17.6 is almost the right number, but I just think the board approved the number of 50,000, I believe it was. So I just don't think it's grade 11. So I think the grades need to be readjusted and looked at. So I'd just rather not even put a grade or step in on that sheet if we eliminated the grade and step. So that issue, I think, is a minor. I think the bigger issue is what you and Matt were discussing as to whether you budget a year or part of a year.
Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Beth?
So when we did talk about it, looking at my notes, I have a mountain of notes. We did do the 17.6 grade and steps. So that was just what we were discussing that night. So
it was 17.6 then. That's kind of what, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got that right here too, Beth, on my chart.
I think the step and grade wasn't updated from the previous part-time position.
Oh no, the previous part-time position was not getting $24. They were getting $16.46. Because I went through the town reports and checked it all out. So
this
thank
was
you
done.
For the information, though. I appreciate that. Other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, let me get back to my sheet here. Tom?
Yes.
Okay. Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Thank you. Michael Moore?
Yes.
Steve? Where is Steve?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
No.
Pam?
Yes.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin? You're muted, Mike.
Sorry about that.
That's
Yes.
okay. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I'm a no. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, 3 no. Okay, moving on to page 17.
Ginger,
Yes.
have we done on that same page welfare vendor payments?
Yes, we did that before we left Saturday.
That was the last thing for Saturday.
I'm sorry?
That was the last one we did for Saturday.
Correct, because I knew we were getting into the Parks and Recreation, and I knew had a bunch to say, and we were more interested in getting everybody out before everybody lost power or whatever. So that's why I stopped it there. So going on to page 17, we've got libraries. So this is section 45501. And do we have a motion?
Make a motion to recommend $214,386.
Thank you, Dan.
Second.
Thank you, Grace. Okay, we did get information from Donna as well as the trustees Saturday morning. Do we have any discussion or further questions regarding the library's budget? Because Betty, being a trustee, can answer our questions for us. I'm not seeing anybody respond, so okay. Tom?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve? Where's Steve?
I apologize. I'm trying to be quiet over here. Yes.
That's okay. Hey, my dog keeps coming in to remind me it's time to go. It's time to go.
Been a
So,
long. I've been up since 4 this morning. It's been a long day. I'm sorry.
oh, don't I know it? Yeah. Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Oh,
I'm sorry? Paul, were you a yes or a no? You're muted. I think he's frozen. Paul, can you hear me? You're muted. Okay, were you a yes or a no for the library?
I was a no, but yeah, my screen has been locked up here.
Okay, I thought that was the case. I just wanted to be sure I recorded your vote correctly. Okay, Pam,
Yes.
thank you. Bob,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike Jobin,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So we are 11-1. Okay, brings us to patriotic purposes.
I move that we approve the patriotic purposes budget of $1,800.
And I missed who that was.
That was
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, who was the first?
Mike Moore.
Mike was the, okay. And Steve, were you the second?
Yes, I was.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none. Tom,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mike Moore,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Paul, you have to unmute, Paul.
Get with the program.
Paul, take yourself off mute.
Oh, he's frozen again.
Yeah, he's having internet issues.
He's having internet issues. All right, I'll finish the rest and come back to him. Pam?
Yes.
Okay. Bob?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Paul, if you can hear me, raise your hand. Yeah,
If-
he's frozen.
Oh, there he is. He's raising his hand.
Okay, yes or no? One for yes, two for no. You got it. Thank you. He's a yes. Okay, so we are 12-0. Oh my goodness, don't believe it. We're on our last page, folks.
Ginger, can I just jump in with some advice for Paul? A lot of times connectivity is greatly improved if you turn off the video.
Ah, did you catch that, Paul?
Turn your camera on.
Then I believe.
I think he's gone completely now.
No, Paul's still there. Yeah, now he's unmuted. So Paul, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay.
Nice, perfect.
I saved the day again. Look at that.
You did. So just keep the video off, Paul. And that way we can hear you.
They just don't want to look at you, Paul. That's what they told me.
I don't blame them.
Okay, we're on to PD wage grant programs, 45890.
Move the amount of $10,246.
Second.
Thank you, Grace. Do we have any questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none. Tom?
Yes.
Thank you. Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
You're good with it, right? Okay. Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul? Can you hear me, Paul?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, now I can. Are you a yes or a no?
Yes.
Thank you. Pam?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So we had 12-0. That brings us to donations. Section 45899. Do I have a
Move the
motion?
$1,501.
And that
Second.
was Pam?
No, that was me.
That was you. Thank you, Betty.
And I seconded.
Thank you, Grace. Any discussion?
Go see mama. Go see mama.
I was silent.
Go see mama.
Yeah.
I just haven't.
I'm waiting for Steve to get his dog to go see Mama.
I hope he's got better luck with his than I've been having with mine then, so.
I'm curious, in this period of food insecurity, where the number for food pantry donations is coming from. Is that what we've offered and they'll take all they can get? Does anybody know that they want and need more? Anybody know anything about food
The
donations?
selectmen. Anybody know?
If you give Betty a chance, she'll answer the question.
Oh, Betty.
Actually, I don't know. I just do my Monday.
John knows Ginger.
John?
Well, we developed a budget simply by moving the line over at the current level. We didn't really ask. So we don't know. In other words, I just budgeted it the same as the year before, but I agree. The question is with food insecurity, it may be low.
Can I throw something in there?
Yes, by all means, Dan.
They've always came in through with a certain amount, and we've put it out for the amount they asked for. Unless someone comes with more or requests for more, we haven't done it. But I don't think that that idea has been put forth to them that they could come up with a bigger number.
So
right now, that's
probably
probably
they would appreciate a larger donation if they wouldn't turn down a larger donation, I
They
guess.
would not turn down a larger donation, I do not believe.
Betty, do you have your hand up?
Nope.
Okay. Hal?
Yeah, I think it could be played either way. Certainly the select board has always said, especially in instances like this, if we don't have it budgeted, but we need to make a contribution, we will find a place in the budget to pull that money from and do it. But on the other hand, if the budget committee feels that they want to up the amount, we voted the other way, but I don't think anybody on the select board would be against that. Because like I say, we've committed before, when it's come up, that we would contribute what's necessary to keep that funded.
Tom?
I heard earlier about people have given up their monthly trash pickups. And Chris suggested that's because it costs $100+ a month for somebody to take your trash away. And so that's one indicator, very interesting indicator of actual hardship within the community where people are trying to save money. The other person who may have some insight is the lady to my right or left, Beth Boudreau, and who's in touch with the school community. And I'm wondering whether you're hearing anything in terms of kids and their parents being short.
Beth?
So I know we gave the food pantry an extra $500 this year, and we have asked them several times if they need anything extra. The school community right now, the USDA has given, we are providing free breakfast and lunches to all children under the age of 18. And that is for Monday through Friday. And then they actually can get free breakfast and free lunch for the weekends as well. So that's probably helping a lot of the families, I'm sure. Even if the kids are remote, the breakfasts and lunches are going home with the kids the day they are at school, or if the parents can come pick them up. And we did that all summer long, actually since spring, since COVID happened. And the free breakfast and lunch goes to the end of the school year. So that is really helping a lot of the families with younger students. So thank you for asking.
Okay, Betty, and then Hal.
There's also and 68 Hours of Hunger also provides food for the kids.
Yep, those kids get a backpack or a big bag of food for the weekends. So I think the hard time is like school vacations. But I mean, the board has reached out through the welfare department to the food pantry several times asking if you need anything, please let us know.
Okay. Hal?
Yeah, I think what Beth said is an indication of things are being covered reasonably well. And I would just add to the information on that we have not had, and I have to say, surprisingly, not had a lot of calls coming in for welfare. I think the last time, well, I mean, as part of that, we've moved from having somebody on salary and here a certain number of hours every week to where we put Dave on per diem. And I think the last month that he was here, he only fielded one, maybe two calls. And I don't recollect getting a requisition, for example, for, fuel assistance or anything like that. So those indications, at least give me some hope that people aren't suffering too badly. But again, I'll say what the selectmen have said in the past. If the need arises, we'll figure out how to fund. It's really more up to whether the budget committee wants to put some additional, quote, guaranteed money into the pot at this point.
Okay, thank you. Beth?
I know that if you were on unemployment, you did receive extra money in the spring. I'm not sure how that is going to take effect with the second CARES Act, if they're actually going to increase unemployment. So we may see an increase of need come winter when more people are laid off. I mean, the numbers are rising. I'm not sure if businesses will close again. So again, we don't know what the funding is coming federally, for unemployment. So we may need to add some more money to that.
The last report I heard at 5 o'clock tonight was the latest compromise that they're still working on at the federal level was an additional 300 unemployment per week for those who are getting unemployment. But if you aren't getting unemployment, or if you have used all of your unemployment benefits for the year and you haven't found another job and whatever, you are out of luck. So it's almost like a catch-22.
Yeah, well, we've been trying to keep an eye on it. And like I say, so far the indications are reasonable, but we can't predict the future. So I think the budget committee is going to have to, sort of guess on this one.
Well, I raised the issue and I'm happy to leave it where it is, knowing that if people really need it, they know that they can call into the office. The only other place I would look is I know that the Northwood Congregational Church, among others, I think, has provided Thanksgiving baskets with turkeys, and they'll do the same thing at Christmas time. Those, as I have delivered them with Johanna, are always much appreciated by the folks who get them. But I don't know whether that number has increased or not. And I think we should simply stand ready if at the deliberative session we hear that there is a need, that we as a town support it.
Right.
So I'll leave the number where it is.
I would agree with that. Any other discussion or comments on donations? Okay, seeing none. Tom?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And yes, so we had 12-0. Okay, that brings us to conservation. Section 46111. Don't all jump at once, guys.
Yeah, I will move the amount of $3,553.
Thanks, Grace.
Second.
Thanks, Betty. I know it's getting late, but we've only got 2 sections to go, guys. Any discussion on conservation? Seeing as I would only increased by $1. Looks good to me. Okay, seeing no questions or comments, we'll go ahead with a roll call. Tom,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Michael Moore,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike Jobin.
Yes.
And yes, so we got 12-0. That brings us down to economic development. 46510.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the amount of $405.
Thank you, Dan.
Second. Second.
Is that you, Steve?
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none. Tom,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mike Moore,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike Jobin,
Yes.
and yes, for myself, we are 12-0. Our last number is the interest on tax anticipation notes, 47231.
$1.
Move the extraordinary amount of $1.
Thank you, Betty.
Second.
Thank you, Grace. Any discussion or questions?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
Yeah,
Now-
go ahead, Dan.
I know this is only $1. We have $1 in there. We can always spend money there if we need to. But we just spent a whole lot of time discussing the fact that people in town aren't doing very well. And the plan was to cover the interest on the note we had to borrow to get money to run the town. The people may not be paying the money into the town. Are we shooting ourselves in the foot by not putting some money in there? We had 50,000 for the longest time. We cut it down to 20,000 for the longest time. And I know this is beating a buck to death, but we can do this all day long.
Yeah, I've got the same history that you have, Dan. I remember the day. I also remember the day when we had a $100,000 welfare budget too. We've never, in the 35 years I've been in town, and I've been informed by people who lived here even longer, we've never had to borrow money in anticipation of taxes. That being said, doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. Again, with $1 on the line, should we need to borrow money, we have a place where we can apply it. In the interest of hopefully getting a proposed budget passed rather than a default budget, my position is to leave it at $1. But that's me. I hear what you're saying, Dan, absolutely. But I would really like to see something other than a default budget pass. I don't know if this will be it, but we can try. Are there other comments or questions, or do you have another comment, Dan? Back
No,
at
I
me?
wasn't throwing out a number there. I was just saying, we've looked at around how the town may or may not be in good shape. And then hearing this thing, we're going to safeguard it. Whatever. Like I said, I'm not throwing out a dollar figure, just a food for thought.
Okay. Walter, did I just see your hand go up?
Yes. Just a little anecdotal information. I have checked with the tax collector as far as how collections are coming in so far, and they seem to be on par and schedule with past years. So that's a good indication so far. I think the other thing from my experience is that where the town has a relatively good fund balance, where we're able to carry ourselves through those thin periods between tax bills. I think the need for a TAN is unlikely for the coming year.
Okay, thank you. Hal?
Yeah, I'm not sure if folks remember back to early March, but that is indeed part of the analysis that Mr. Hadley helped us do early on in the year, where we said, you know, we were sort of doing sort of like a game strategy type thing. And he said almost exactly what Walter said. You know, we could figure out a way to deal with this without having to, you know, disrupt or turn over the apple cart, so to speak. So I tend to agree with, you know, what you said. And, you know, in round numbers, if we had to, you know, we had to do something, the $10,000 or $20,000 that it would be, it's not an insurmountable amount to come up with. And if things are really going bad, we probably would be looking at cutting other things too. So we could probably figure out a way to get it out of the budget. Not a nice thing to say, but if we had to do it, I think we'd figure out how to do it.
Which also makes sense. I can't believe we're agreeing, Hal.
Shit.
Are there any other comments or questions regarding the interest on TAN? Okay, seeing none. Tom?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dan, you there?
Yes.
Oh, okay, you're speaking very softly. Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, so we have officially finished reviewing the proposed operating budget, which leaves us with warrant articles, one of which is the proposed operating budget. Those we can do at our next meeting. So question number one, we did post for tomorrow night. In case we needed it, not knowing what weather would turn out to be. We also have Wednesday posted. What's the committee's preference? Do we want to come back tomorrow night and get it done and then have the rest of the week off? Or do we want to stay off our computers tomorrow night and just come back Wednesday? Yes, Mike.
Hi, Ginger. I do have an appointment tomorrow, so I wouldn't be able to make it because my calendar had Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
Okay.
I can't get out of that appointment.
Okay. I mean, I'm quite certain that we can get the warrant articles completed in one night. I checked the weather again today because I'm a weather nut, and it appears that Wednesday should be fine. Tomorrow should be fine. We're not looking at any storms, heavy winds, anything like that coming in. So I'm guessing that if we have electricity and internet now, we would have it on Wednesday. In view of wanting to, because those are the dates that have been posted initially, trying to get some of our people who are excused today, hopefully they would be able to attend again on Wednesday. Is there anyone who would not be available on Wednesday? I don't see anybody. Oh. I wish I could turn my computer around so that you can see the little hairy friend that just showed up by my printer. He goes squeak, squeak. I have a mouse on my desk. Not impressed. Anyway,
I got a mouse on my desk.
no wonder my dog wanted in here. They're mousers. Okay. So I'm not
Got
here for
one
anybody
too.
not wanting to be here or not being able to be here on Wednesday. So I would suggest that we cancel tomorrow night's posting as not needed. Plan on being back here Wednesday at 7. So we'll go ahead and do that, and I'll let Linda and Susan know. The other thing that I need to mention is those of you who have gotten your school packets that I have gotten to you Friday with the help of Tom and Mike Jobin, you will have noticed that the print is pretty small and that the proposed budget section for the school is shaded very darkly, which makes it nearly impossible to see. This morning, I made arrangements and did pick up new copies that are on the 11 by 17 paper. The shading is nowhere near as dark. They're completely legible. In addition to the operating budget, the SAU proposed budget, and the preschool proposed budget, I was also given the warrant articles, which due to a family emergency this afternoon, I did not have time to get around to deliver to everybody, and I apologize for that. I've spoken with Tom already, and he's willing to help distribute the ones that he was going to distribute. Mike Jobin helped me out on Friday. Mike, is there a possibility we can meet up again
Yes, I
after
didn't,
work?
absolutely. I didn't get those to Eric yet, but we haven't hooked up.
That's okay, because now you can just give him the new ones.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. For anybody else, I did hand deliver a few. Paul was coming by to spend some money here for repairs. Those of you who didn't get your packets through Mike or Tom, I will deliver again tomorrow during the day. If there's a specific time that's best for you, please give me a call or send me a text. Or now that my internet's up, send me an email. And I'll be sure that everybody has those by end of day tomorrow. Any questions about any of that? Doing my best trying to get it out there so that you still have time to review everything.
Oh,
Yes, Tom.
I just want to assume that by the time we meet again on Wednesday at 7, that somebody will go through the budget, incorporate the $10,000 that we put in for the emergency management person's activities, etc.
Right. We've got a few changes because of salary changes, which changed
Right.
retirement, FICA, Medicare, and whatever. So again, come Wednesday night, if Pam can be given the new number for the proposed budget, or if John or Walter wants to offer it, somebody official besides me, that would be
Hey,
helpful.
Jen,
John,
We have it all calculated.
okay.
we'll take it on Wednesday. I don't want to confuse things tonight. John?
Yeah, Walter will take care of that. Is there anything, I know last year you were, did not get everything you wanted in a timely fashion. Is there anything else you want that we haven't delivered from the town side that we can give to you to help you in this process?
I believe,
Maybe make up a finalized list for the next meeting. Give folks a chance to think about it.
yeah, if any of you that are listening to my voice at this point, if you think of anything else that you would like to have, additional information or backup or whatever, particularly for the warrant articles, unless there's something with the operating budget, please remember, we pretty much voted in the affirmative for everybody on everything. There were a few exceptions. If you determine that you want to go back and revisit a particular area of the operating budget, we can do that with a vote. So keep that in mind. So if there's any additional information you would like, please send me an email or call me, text, whatever, and I'll pass that on to town so that we're not having multiple people contacting Walter or Linda or somebody. It'll all go through me. And we will have a corrected, a revised figure for Monday night. The only other thing that I can think of, and this is for the selectmen to be considering, and I don't remember who brought the subject up when we were talking about additional vehicles. And that initially at the Highway Advisory Committee, there was discussion regarding a pickup for the highway department. I remember hearing discussion about the possibility of, should there be sufficient funds left in this current year budget, that perhaps that vehicle could be purchased out of surplus of 2020. I would urge the selectmen to remember that in Northwood, any new vehicles have always gone to the voters to determine if they want to purchase it or what they want to purchase, how much money they want to spend. And so I would urge you that if you are reconsidering that purchase, you present it as a warrant article. And should you make that decision between, or discussion between now and Wednesday, then perhaps we could include that at the same time. I don't know if you're meeting between now and Wednesday. Probably not.
No.
Is there anything else that I've forgotten that anyone else can think of? That being said, let us recess this evening's meeting at 9:04 to reconvene on Wednesday, December 9th at 7 o'clock. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Betty and Grace. It's so hard to go down through a roll call to leave, but here we go. Tom?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Dan?
Where you left?
That's what I figured. Mike Moore?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Mike Jobin?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.